Hello again YouTube, Elita Legionaii here, bringing you the 4v4 I mentioned in my previous Medieval 2 video. It was a 4v4 and just a grassy plains 4v4 because it usually satisfies most people that way to get them to stay. So, I'm playing as Denmark, so I have 4 chivalric knights and 2 Norse war clerics, which is always a good combo in my opinion. Then I have 2 peasants with shielding up front, then I have 5 dismounted chivalric knights, then I have I believe it was 3 units of crossbowmen, and then I have 4 Viking raiders, which I believe were maxed out because they've got the maxed out armour there, so they can go right to gold defence. This is an extremely versatile unit, and you should use it quite, in my opinion, when you play as Denmark, because it makes a superb flanking force or a cavalry support force. My allies are TheLastAlexander from he was the Byzantine player, my opponent in the last game. He's playing on my side this time. He's playing as Hungary. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think he's got 5. He's got 5 dismounted chivalric knights there. And then he's got 1, 2, I think he's got about 3 battlefield assassins behind him. And he's got a couple of feudal knights on the far right as well. I'm just going to pause this, guys, because this battle is very fast, and I don't want to miss it. So, I'm going to miss some inevitably, but I don't want to miss too much. So, he's got 2 hussars and 3 royal bandarian. That's a good mix, and a general's bodyguard. Then there is Dave. He's got 4 Polish guard, general's bodyguard, and a Lithuanian cav. That's a good cav mix. However, there's nothing against Dave, but I thought his army build was, from the rest of it apart, these Polish knights are fine, but this is just too many missile units for Poland. Poland's got some of the worst missile choices out of any faction in Medieval 2, so it really should be a small contingent, and he's got 8 units of missiles. If you're going to bring 8 units of missiles, you need to be bringing a faction like France or England, Russia, factions that have got very good missile units. Particularly France and England though, because they've got the armour-piercing arrows, and France has got a crossbowman and it's got like the Scots Guard and stuff, and of course England's pretty much standard. But I mean, Arquebusier, he's got 4 of these guys out the front, and to be honest, they're just, they're okay, but they're not great. They're really not that great. And then Lithuanian archers are some of the worst foot archers in the game. So nothing against Dave. He probably just wasn't aware of it. But this is not a good combination for Poland. If you're going to go Poland, you want to be putting plenty in your cav. He's got a good cav wing here. If I were him, I'd probably have tossed in some hussars as well. And then just bring like a couple of crossbow militia, or even just do a rush army, because this doesn't play to the strength of Poland, because their missiles are very poor. And with him is SwedishLandSknekt, he's got 4 Highland archers up front, and that's probably as much as he dared to bring, because they're not great. They're okay archers, but they're not great. He's got 3 noble pikemen, then he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 noble swordsmen, which is a good sword infantry, and together with the pikes do pretty well, but he is up against Venice over there, which can make this tricky. So he's got 2 units of mailed knight up front, 3 feudal knights, and general's bodyguard. It's an interesting choice. Hospitalis probably would have been better, but I think I know what he's trying to go with. He was trying to get quantity, I think, over quality here, because he knows his feudal knights are not that much weaker. Our opponents are FriedrichSmith again, who's using Venice. He's got 3 musketeers up front, 3 pipe militia, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 Venetian heavy infantry, dismounted feudal knight, and then another pipe militia. Another 2 pipe militia there. These are obviously back defences, because he's going to play a real defensive game. He's going to keep using his back lines. Then he's got, he's got 3 Stratiots, 2 Knights Hospitaller, and a general bodyguard, and they're standard. So he's going to play a pretty tight game. And then Zatar is his ally from the last game. He's got 3 musketeers, he's got 4 pipe militia, then he's got 2 dismounted feudal knights out there, and then 4 dismounted 4 Venetian infantry, then the Crashio standard, then a whole swing of 5 Stratiots. So there's an extremely dangerous cavalry wing there. So these 2 are going to stand together real close and use these standards to support their army, and they're going to be very hard in the defensive role, because I'm no doubt that Friedrich was giving Zatar the rules, not the rules, the battle plan. These 2 are going to work together, because this kind of pans out as 2 is essentially a 2v2 over here and then 2 single or 1v1s over here. Opposite the last Alexander is Libertarian 1776. You guys might remember this guy from one of my previous battles. He's one of the best players I've ever encountered in Medieval 2, and I've only really ever seen him use the Turks, but he's damn good with them when he uses them. So he's got 3 units of musketeers, Janissary musketeers at the front, 4 Janissary heavy inf, 4 Afghan militia, then he's got 3 Nafatoons, a Kapakulu bodyguard, and 4 Alan light cav. It's a very good army if in the right hands, and believe you me, he knows how to use it. So it's going to be extremely hard for Alexander to actually hope to win that fight. Then my opponent, he's an unknown. I didn't know this guy, Lloyd Declare 1. I've never met him before. He's got 3 retinue longbow. He's England, obviously. He's got 2. He's got dismounted English knight there, dismounted English knight, dismounted English knight. He's got 5 dismounted English knights there, 3 heavy bill militia in the back. Sorry, he had more than that. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had about 8 heavy bill militia, I think. Then he had another retinue longbow, and he had 3 mailed knights. And to be honest, judging by this build for England, this is not really an optimal build. The infantry's not very good for frontline work. Bill militia, in my opinion, is really not that good. He's not got much cavalry, so I suspect that he was fairly new. So let this begin. So my hope here was, now I take responsibility for the fact that I did not communicate very well with Last Alexander when I should have, because he's up against a very skilled opponent, so that was my fault. But my hope here was a quick decisive knockout for Lloyd, and simply that these two would just kind of muck around in a missile duel for a while, or well, they're not a missile duel. The thing is, he's not really got a missile unit, but I'd hope they'd sort of muck around before they begun attacking. But I realise he's probably not going to do that because obviously he's under musket fire. But the hope was that I'd be able to knock this guy out, the English player out, quick enough to help Last Alexander against Libertarian, because Last Alexander's a fairly new player and Libertarian's a very experienced player, so it's very unlikely he's going to be able to hold his own in that fight. No offence to him or anything, it's just that way. So immediately on this flank, Dave begins a fight here. He had the misfortune though of his guys not wanting to put their lance down, and that's really unfortunate. Now what happens here is he clusters all his troops here, and Zatar does an awesome piece of work here by encircling around behind them. For a new player like him, that's very good, and that's going to spell almost certain doom for these a lot of these Polish guards. Even though they're extremely good cav, Stratiots, believe me, will clean them up in that situation. He tries stopping with Lithuanian cav, and that destroys him, and once he loses his cav, he's in deep trouble. Friedrich Smith comes over to help him, and now because he's got so many missiles and nothing to support them, he just starts chain routing them immediately. So that's going badly for him. My fight, I've already engaged here, and as you can see, his infantry's quickly routing, and I crack straight through his very few his cavalry units, and I just use my Viking raiders to kind of wrap around the flanks. You can see 2 on this flank and 2 on this flank, and then I had to get my Norse war clearers to clean them out. So I'm very easily routing my opponent just because his army's not really optimal. So he's already mass routed. I do apologise this battle's going so fast, but it was that kind of battle, and I'm not going to be able to catch everyone's fights. But it was these guys are not going to do any good without the charge, and they're absolutely encircled here. I've got a cannon going on them here. Basically, there's no way out, so they're going to get absolutely mashed. I'm just cleaning out what's left. As you can see, I've got cav over here. Now, what I should have been doing was, I was going to send it to help Zatar, but as you can, not Zatar, the last Alexander, but as you can see, he already got routed. Now, what he does, he just immediately charged in. As you can see, he got mass routed by those Nafatoons and cavalry. So I was fortunate I knocked my opponent out so quickly, because that means me and I can fight Libertarian and still not be overwhelmed by his numbers. So over here, Dave takes another fight here, but he's just not going to beat these Stratiots. Stratiots are, without a better choice of words, just OP. For light cavalry, they're extremely OP. Swedes over here, he's essentially trying to hold up Friedrich Smith, and he's got round behind his lines here. But as you can see, Friedrich's playing defence like I knew he would. If I had been Swedes, I probably would have tried going round these pikes if you could. I know he had muskets there, so if you somehow distract those muskets and get around them, around this line, because just ignore the pikes. Because playing into Friedrich-Smith's defence is never a good idea, at least when you're playing Scotland. But he does a pretty nice job with his cav, although he's getting a bit clustered. As you can see, these Polish cavalry are getting pretty wasted. And me and Libertarian are turning to face each other. I'm just picking up what's ever left, but looking pretty bleak because all three of my teammates are about to die and I'm the only one who's survived. 54% of us dead, 44% of them dead. So yeah, Dave tosses infantry in to assist here, but I mean Venetian heavy infantry is going to have him for breakfast there, and he's just got too many missile units. I mean, I think what he's perhaps thinking was like the missile army builds some Rome total war and stuff, but it's a wee bit harder to do in medieval 2, and you certainly don't want to do it with Poland because they just don't have the necessary units. As you can see, Swedes can't breach this front, not with Scotland, so he routes as well, and his cavalry is just too isolated out the back here, and Friedrich's able to concentrate his mass on it. So see, the battle plan here that Friedrich, I think, I'm sure he masterminded it. It's a plan of like drawing your opponents in with musket fire and missile fire, and then counter-striking and picking apart a weakness, basically. And he's very good at it. And I must admit, Zatar did very well here because he's a very new player when we did this, but he did a very good job. But I suspect Friedrich would have been giving him the tips there, which is fine. So,
without their general, our allies may lose heart and flee.
So our opponents are dead. Now what I do here is send a Norse war cleric to try and draw some of these guys away, so that I can put the pressure on with my cavalry over here. And they weren't meant to be walking, they weren't meant to be running, but there we go, they're running now. However, I underestimated the speed of those Alien Knights and they caught me out, so that unit's kind of in trouble. But it doesn't matter, they're distracting two of his cavalry units. Now if I get enough cavalry in here to get at his Nafatoons, Swedes managed to save his general here, and the idea was I just asked him, get these Nafatoons quickly while we do that. So there's a big distraction there, so when this distraction they go for Swede, I bring in my cav now, because I don't want to get muck around too much. Now I realise these guys are out my flank there like that, but I gamble here and go after these Turkish units because I know he's going to have to come rescue them. So here I get a perfectly good charge right into the flank of his men here, and that'll do a bunch of damage. And I'm able to get round him, this flank now, and I'm charging up here, and at this stage it's looking pretty good because now he's unable to protect most of his Nafatoons. And I'm just being careful here not to stay in fights too long until his Nafatoons are killed, because I'll lose them otherwise. But as you can see, his Alien Light Cav, while they do well for a while, if they get tired or anything like that, or lose a few numbers or stay in fight too long, they will actually lose. So that's why he's having a hard time with them there. So I'm using my Chivalric Knights here to run interference. Now I'm going to try and ignore his Janissary Musketeers and just get these Nafatoons now. That's what I'm trying to do here. So as you can see, I'm trying to kill them, because once I get his Nafatoons, my infantry can easily take him out. And I've got to try and do this before Friedrich and Zatar come and rescue him. And I'm confident I could do it. I can do it once I get these Nafatoons out of the way. Because I know these Janissary heavy infantry are not going to be able to beat my dismounted Chivalric Knights, but I have to get the Nafatoons because I will lose. Now, I send these guys in to help support here, but I probably should have sent them on the flank, but I do that with over here. And I've got cavalry coming in. I'm trying to push through to his Nafatoons, which works out quite nicely. This unit over here regrouped. I've still got missile units in the back here. As you can see, though, I am actually comfortably starting to win this fight. Unfortunately, Friedrich Smith is arriving with his cavalry. So I'm going to try and do the best I can to try and get this done, destroy Libertarian before these guys come. I realise we're going to lose, but I can still take a lot of them out before I go down, because I've got a good army left. So I get a really good flank charge here. As you can see, my infantry is starting to absolutely maul these Turkish ones. If you get rid of the Nafatoons, you'll find that you won't have much trouble. But if you get rid of the Nafatoons and cavalry, the Turks will just break very quickly because they're not equipped. So here there's a lot of Friedrich's units coming in and Zatar's cavalry coming in, and they're right behind me now. So I need to try and deal with this Turkish player quickly. He does a pretty nice job of coordinating, but I am going to beat him. But with these enemy cavalry all in here now, though, it's meaning I need to divide my attention a bit. But I've definitely got my Turkish player defeated here. It's just a matter of time before, as I can get him.
My lord, only half of
But the problem I have is Friedrich Smith here. He's got his cav behind my lines, and I'm using my own crossbowmen to try and just hold him up. As you can see, they're breaching around my lines here, and I got no allies left to help me. So the Turkish player is going to be able to live. However, I know for a fact I definitely would have routed him had these guys not come in to save him. As you can see, I'm still easily winning the infantry fight. And his guys get defeated all around the board, and I would have had cavalry continuing hammer and anvil strikes if I had not had to just pull them off and try and stall Friedrich's guys. So unfortunately at this stage I am basically out as well, simply because I can't fight 3 people at once. So very good game here though. If only those guys had not been quick enough, I know I could have destroyed Libertarian's army, but I couldn't fight Friedrich, Zatar and Libertarian all by myself all at once. So I eventually get killed here, but it turned out to be a very fun fight, or at least it did for me. I know my teammates will probably say otherwise because they got pretty cleaned out. But that happens sometimes, where certain members of the team don't do as well as others. It's just the way it goes. So I mean, I got pretty isolated there in the end, but as you can see, I easily come off with the highest kills there. FriedrichSmith's not too far behind me, but no one on my team has got over 500. So I had 1,303 and then 348 captures, so that puts me up just short of, or just over 1,650 altogether, so I did very well, but my teammates did not. Swedes did nearly 500, but the other two guys really just got cleaned out. FriedrichSmith, 1,118 and 427, so that's what? Very nearly 1,600, so he's very close to me when it comes to all together like that. But his teammates, Libertarians, 767 and 625 for Zatar, so they were much more in support. I was easily able to clean out the English player. So if you look at my stats here, I just mounted chivalric knights. They did very well, and they looked to continue to do very well if they hadn't been interrupted before I could do much about them. And I didn't have enough left to stop all those players all at once. The Viking Raiders, as I've always said, very good support units, very cheap, very cost effective, very dangerous. They make Denmark something special. The crossbowmen didn't really do much. Chivalric Knights, have a look at these cavalry. 163, 141, 229, 114, and a few captures too to add to that, and then 58 and 65 for the Norse War Clerics. So my army turned out to do very well in this fight, but I had no allies coming in to help me there. If had only one of them beaten their opponents, I think we could have won that one, to be honest, or at least come very, very close to it. So great game to TheLastAlexander, Ace of Dave, Swedes, FriedrichSmith, Zatar, Libertarian, and Lloyd. Awesome work on this team. I mean, clearly their teamwork was better than ours. I should have helped TheLastAlexander a lot more when he was going up against Libertarian. I should have told him what to do more, but his build wasn't necessarily bad, but he just charged straight in, and you should just never do that against like a Nafatoon wielding army like that. You've got to try and draw stuff out and get the Nafatoons if you can, like I did it towards the end there, because once I got rid of those Nafatoons at the end, I was easily able to defeat that, starting to defeat that Turkish army. But had FriedrichSmith and Zatar not intervened, then I would have destroyed that army. So you've got to get rid of those Nafatoons. Perhaps not the best army selection coming from Sweden and Ace of Dave. They did give themselves a pretty big challenge with those armies. They go up against 2 Venetian armies. But it was still an awesome fight, or at least it was for me, getting that many kills. But great game to everyone. Thanks for playing, guys. Hope you have enjoyed it. Certainly always fun to do 4v4s. So anyway, guys, hope you're enjoying these videos. Leave comments, like, it's all good. And thanks for watching. See you soon next time.